We're not here to predict an election. Anyone who tells you they can is selling you a fantasy. We're here to do something more important, to understand a place, its people, and its politics. Because data isn't a crystal ball, it's a diagnostic tool. It helps us see the pulse of the people, the health of the system, and what it really takes to build a path toward genuine governance. And today, our focus is on Ghaspani II and Nagaland. So let's take you to Nagaland's Assembly Constituency number 5, Ghaspani II. Now, on the surface, you see something remarkable, incredible civic engagement. But right underneath that, there is a deep, powerful current of frustration. This is a place where people speak loudly, very loudly, with their vote, and yet they feel like they're not being heard at all. And that's the central tension we're going to explore. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll listen for the pulse of the people. Then, we'll dig into the mandate, what the numbers are telling us. We'll dissect the anatomy of the last election's outcome, pinpoint the governance deficit, and from there, we'll build a blueprint for renewal. And finally, we'll talk about the real responsibility of power. So let's start right there by listening to the soil. Before we even look at a single piece of electoral data, we have to understand the people. Who lives here? What matters to them? And what are their deepest worries? Okay, what's so fascinating here is the contrast. You've got a pretty small electorate, just under 30,000 voters. It's a scheduled tribe-reserved seat, high literacy for the region. But just look at that last number. Voter turnout consistently between 83 and 95%. That is incredible. This isn't apathy. This is a highly engaged, politically sharp population that is demanding to be seen and heard. And this is what they're saying. Listen to this quote. This isn't some political attack line. This is a cry for help. For the people who live there, this is just a statement of fact. And it tells a story of profound neglect. The most basic things, roads, schools, hospitals, a way to earn a living, they're just not there. So when you boil it all down, when you cut through the noise, the message from the ground is crystal clear. It's about 3 things. 1, decent infrastructure. 2, real jobs for the youth. And 3, this deep frustration with a political class that makes big promises and then, as one person put it, just turns a blind eye to their basic needs. This is where anti-incumbency is born. Okay, now we shift gears. We move from the stories on the ground to the cold, hard numbers. We go from examination to diagnosis, because the feelings are powerful, yes, but the data shows us exactly how those feelings translated into votes. It shows us the patterns, the shifts, and the critical weaknesses. The electoral history here tells a really interesting story. This is not some party's fortress. An independent one in 2008, the Naga People's Front, the NPF, took it in 2013, then the sitting MLA switched to the NDPP and won in 2018 and won again in 2023. What does this tell you? It tells you this is a pragmatic electorate. They are willing to shift their loyalty based on who they think will actually deliver. And the 2023 result, well, it paints a very stark picture. The incumbent NDPP won, and won solidly, with nearly 47% of the vote. The runner-up, a new player, got almost 30%. But look at that third bar, the Naga People's Front, the party that won this very seat just a decade ago, got 0%. Let that sink in. Not a small number. 0. 0%. This number explains the entire political collapse. Why? How? It's simple. The NPF, a legacy party in Nagaland, didn't even field a candidate. They just gave up the ground. This isn't just losing an election. It's a complete abdication. It points to a deep, deep crisis inside the party at the local level. So you have to ask, how does a major party get to 0? This didn't just happen by accident. It was the result of multiple systemic failures all crashing together at the same time. To understand this, we have to look at the system, not just the personalities. The diagnosis points to 3 main causes. First, the raw power of the incumbent NDP-BJP alliance. They control resources from both the state and the center. Second, the opposition was fragmented. The anti-incumbency vote was split, which always helps the incumbents. But the third and most critical factor was the internal decay of the NPF itself. A disengaged party creates a vacuum, and power will always fill a vacuum. And this brings us to a really fundamental point. When people show up to vote in numbers like 85, 95%, that's not a game. That is a serious, dignified exercise of their constitutional rights. The right to speak through your vote comes with a profound responsibility for political actors to listen, to be honest, and to respect the intelligence of the voter. And when that listening fails, you get what we call the governance deficit. It's that huge, empty gap between the promises that are made on the campaign trail and the reality people live every single day. In Ghaspani II, that gap has become a chasm. Here's a perfect example. Back in 2018, the BJP, a key partner in the alliance, made a huge promise, a solution to the Naga political issue. It was their headline. Years later, you go to the ground and voters are asking a very simple, direct question: where is the solution? This isn't just about one issue. It's a symbol of a total crisis of accountability. So we've done the examination, we've made the diagnosis, now comes the hard part, the prescription. Given this reality, how can a political force like the NPF or any opposition party possibly rebuild from zero? How do you earn back the people's trust? It requires a very clear, very disciplined strategy. The blueprint we're laying out is called the Chaturmukha Doctrine, a four-faced strategy. Each face is essential, and they all have to work together. It's about reclaiming your identity, championing development, projecting new leadership, and mastering digital outreach. Now, the first two faces are the foundation. On one side, the party has to reconnect with its history, its DNA, as the true voice of Naga interests. That's its unique strength. But, and this is critical, identity alone is not enough. You have to pair it with a relentless, obsessive focus on what people are actually asking for: better roads, more jobs, schools that work, and clean water. The third phase is leadership. The data is clear. People are looking for a new kind of leader, not a power broker, but a people's champion. Someone younger, maybe 30 to 45, with a real track record of community service. Someone who is humble, but can communicate clearly, who understands technology, and is known for their integrity. This is the antidote to the frustration people feel. And the fourth phase is digital. But this is so important. Digital outreach isn't about spamming WhatsApp groups. It has to be a respectful, two-way conversation. As we move forward, every single interaction has to be built on the principles of privacy and consent, which are now part of India's core data protection framework. You build trust online the same way you build it door-to-door, with respect. Look, a blueprint is just a plan on paper. Turning it into reality, that's the ultimate test. This isn't about winning some political game. It's about accepting the profound responsibility that comes with the power to actually improve the lives of nearly 30,000 people. So, this is the final question, isn't it? The path from 0% to victory is a long one. It is a huge mountain to climb. How, in a climate of such deep cynicism and disappointment, can trust truly be rebuilt? The answer actually lies within the problem itself. The biggest threat to the incumbent is also the biggest opportunity for the opposition. That powerful, growing public demand for accountability. The energy for change is already there. The vision can't just be about being anti-somebody. It has to be a positive, constructive vision for a rebuilt Ghaspani II, and by extension, a Nagaland truly focused on development. If you want to become a people-centric leader and uplift your constituency, get in touch with blueprintstrategies.ai at mgr@blueprintstrategies.ai or call 080-4204-1602. Purpose beyond politics.